Welcome to Power of Pure Presence. Another opportunity to immerse ourselves fully into the present moment. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome on this Sunday. I am very, very excited to be with you today on this beautiful autumn day, October 30th, at the time of this show. And we have an interesting show planned for you today. As you settle in today, you might be live. I see we have some people joining us live today. Good morning. Good morning, Mandy. Glad you're here. Good morning. I see some folks in here. Jordan, good morning, Jordan. Glad you're here today. Sunny. We have Duchess DJ Love with us this morning. And I just want to give you a welcome, open arms. Welcome today for a unique show. Part of this show is going to be pre-recorded and part of the show is live. This section is live, and I will be switching over to a pre-recorded portion. This is Valley Forge National Park. This is my second visit here this week, and which is great because it's going to give you, as we dial into the moment, as we harness this other part of ourselves, we're going to see the beautiful backdrop here. We're going to hear sounds of nature. We're going to hear people. We can already hear some other things happening in the backdrop. But I want you to embrace this space as an opposite energy, opposite of the constant flow of life, the ceaseless flow of obligations, the ceaseless flow of thinking. Seems to never stop. And as I'm pausing, right, because the pauses through this show that seem to come out of nowhere are intentional because it's to bring awareness. Deeper awareness that is outside of the thinking mind, that is truly able to be in life at the point it's unfolding. And how often do we drift into the future? How often do we revert to the past? How often do you find your mind wandering, and then all of a sudden you hear something, and all of a sudden you're brought back into the present moment? This is the opening. This is the space. This is the awareness. to go deeper. This was entitled Deeper You, Deeper You, to get out of the mind and not so much to think of it as a bad place. It's more about pure awareness, pure self-awareness of what you need, what's important, and maybe and I want to invite you to think about this. What's important could be just the being in the void or the vacuum of feeling like you have to do something. The mind is an interesting tool. It seems to always be in motion to manipulate something to get to a result, to pontificate upon something that has happened. Did I do that right? Did I say the right thing? Oh my goodness, did I present myself in the wrong way? And this show is about being in the space void of the judgmental mind that's always trying to put a label on something. It's as I was approaching here today, let me grab some of your shares. I'll be doing that. I was thinking how many times we just want to put a label on everything. We just want to label it. And if we don't have the label or we can't define it, we get nervous or scared. Well, what is it? Oh, it should be this way. Oh, it should be that way. Well, how come it's not happening this way? And we struggle to be comfortable with just allowing it to be. And can we just be in the moment without trying to manipulate the moment? What I want to do right now, we're about 8 minutes in. I'm going to go to a pre-recorded part of the show. I'm at Valley Forge National Park. It's a beautiful day. So if you're joining for the first time, you could be live. I want to honor your shares in the live. You might be joining us on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, or whatever platform you find, live or playback. I want to welcome you today. And I want you to create an openness here. I want you to create some space for yourself. I want you to find some time, space, and grace for yourself today. I have a beautiful, beautiful poem that I'm going to be sharing inside the pre-recording, and you're going to see a different part of the park here. So it's going to be a great experience. But I want you to think of me as a guide. I'm not a guru here to tell you how to do something. That's not what this is. This is merely a guide to a greater awareness, and then ultimately to get to the deeper part of you, which is true, which is beautiful, which is purposeful. It has meaning. And here's the great thing. It's always there. You don't have to be a certain way for somebody else. You don't even have to get somewhere. Initially, it's just being aware. And the intention of today's show is that you're going to find that deeper part of yourself. Type in yes if you're in the chat. Just type in the word yes. Say yes to the deeper part of you. And even if you don't know what that is yet, what does he mean, the deeper part of me? What is that? I mean, here I am. What are you talking about? I mean the deeper part of you that is pure. It doesn't have to manipulate anything. It doesn't have to try to be anything. It doesn't have to manipulate the situation. It can just be presence in its pure essence. Your presence in your pure essence. It's pure, it's powerful. Many of you are able to experience it on a daily basis. Some of you have forgotten. You may have lost yourself. I got the cabins behind me. Love the old pioneer cabins, and there's history here as we'll get into some of that. Welcome, DJ. Good morning. Good morning, Sani. And wherever you're listening from, I want to welcome you in. I want to welcome Juanita in from South Africa. I'm glad you're here today. We have Anilda with us today. I want to welcome Anilda. And we have lots of greetings in the chat. We have lots of love already in the chat. DJ has her national passport. So this is Valley Forge National Park. And in order to get to the, and DJ's in the Grand Canyon, she's also helping me in the green room. So in order to get to the part of the show, I want to move over to the pre-recorded part, and I'm going to do that now. And just see if you can step into this. As I view it with you, I'll be in the chat. I want you to embrace this. I want you to let it unfold and say that you will. Just allow this to unfold today and see what it can mean for you. Here we go. Welcome to Power of Pure Presence from another beautiful destination, another opportunity to immerse ourselves fully into the present moment. I trust you already hear the sounds. If you're on the video, you can see the backdrop. And as I made my way to this place today, I became immersed in the beautiful display of colors, the birds, the insects are still out, and all of it is a beautiful opportunity for us to remind ourselves the power of pure presence. I want to start this off with a little bit of a grounding, a little bit of a closed eye, if you will. By the time you get to this show, chances are you've had a busy week. Perhaps your mind has been racing. Maybe you had some little breakthroughs. Maybe you did have some moments of presence. Maybe you can recall some exchanges with some people. Maybe you took some time in the morning or the evening just to be still. As you settle in with me here, I want to welcome you with open arms into this space. This space is both simple and profound. It will speak to each person differently. I am simply a guide. I want to guide you to the truth. The truth that I don't need to give you. It's the truth that's already in you. And we come here to immerse ourselves in the present moment and simply connect to what is already there. There's nothing broken, there's nothing lost, and there's nothing wrong. There simply is this moment. And whatever happens here can become an expansion or an augmentation of what's already inside. Before we settle in, I just feel compelled to give you the gift of the surroundings, and then I'll share with you the location. The show is 99.99999% unplanned today. I have a poem or two. Other than that, this is completely what arises in the moment. Before we do a little closed eye or open eye meditation, your choice, I simply want to share the surroundings, and all I ask is for you to observe. If you're listening on the podcast, simply listen. Maybe you want to close your eyes and just listen. What do you hear? If you're here on the live video, I welcome you today. I want you to look as far as you can see. What do you notice? Step fully into this moment. Let's get grounded. Let's get present. Lots of open space, little patches of woods. Let's take some time and pause and breathe, and I want you to, if you're sitting, just want you to try to ground down into your chair. You can put both feet on the floor. You can keep your eyes open if you want, or you can close them. I'm going to suggest take your palms and put them down on your knees, but you can also put them up to receive. If you want to be grounded, you need some grounding, maybe even all over the place. Put your palms down and simply pay attention to your breath. Notice the sensations as they arise in your body. You might feel a tingling in your hand. You might feel your toe. You might even feel your knees. Just notice. Whatever thought or thoughts come in, just let them go. Just focus on your breath. Let's pause and breathe. On your next inhale, I'd like you to breathe through your nose. Pause. Exhale through your nose. Again. As you begin, or as you continue to breathe, begin to deepen your breath and allow your belly to expand. And just allow yourself to breathe naturally. As we move into the rest of the show, I want you to trust. Simply trust. You might have things to do, your mind might be continuing to race. What do you most need? Maybe you've been all over the place. Maybe you've been overthinking. And even though your mind might continue to be racing, this is exactly what you need. Will you entertain the opposite energy? The grounding down, the connection to the deepest part of you, the truth. I want you to find one more deep breath. Pause. Exhale. If your eyes are closed, begin to flutter your eyes open when you're ready. Welcome back. If you're in the live chat, I want you to check in with yourself right now. Yes, I want you to check in with yourself right now. Do you feel calmer from when we started? Do you feel a deeper connection? What do you feel? And I want to remind you that the flow of daily life is a fast-paced world. Everyone's trying to get somewhere as fast as they can. Where that is, they don't know completely, but what they do, or what they might feel, is that that place is going to relieve their problems. It's going to get them out of the current situation. It's going to get to a utopian moment. As we learn with the show, there is no utopian moment, right? I'm here trying to get quiet, and there's a plane, a little prop plane flying over above. It showed up in the present moment. There's no perfect moment we're going to get to. We simply make the most of what arises. When we can be in alignment with the present moment, then we have the ability to live life at the point it's happening. And then when we let life in, we then can be intentional to transmute that energy, to be aware that every stimulus in the environment, or even a stimulus in us, can be transmuted. So as we move through what's coming through to me now is there something that you've been holding on to? Are you fearful about something? Has fear caused you to overthink or worry? Perhaps you've been worrying more than you've realized you've been worrying. And this show today is an opportunity to let go. Maybe you've been too stimulated by your external environment. And by the way, any moment is a moment to pause and breathe. I do this consistently throughout the show, and it's an invitation. And I'll just remind you again, if you're live, if you're in the playback or you're in the podcast, you're on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or wherever you're getting this show. I just want to remind you that any pause, anything that seems to be quiet, it's all about being in the present moment. Because the mind wants to go, ooh, something's wrong. Because immediately we want to put a label on it. And it's just a pause. Step back. There's something deeper. There's something more. This space, and I'm going to create a vacuum here real soon. Again, I'm going to stand up. And I want you to really allow this. So let me read something to you. Draw some more. I'll surprise you. Who doesn't like surprises? Right? What arises in the present surprises you. So I'm going to read something to you. It's called Refuse the First Plate. Here we go. There is a deliverance that comes when you move from eating greasy scraps to more beautiful, noble food. One kind of food gives you flatulence and diarrhea, a heaviness in the stomach. The other keeps you light as you ride the ocean. Fast and watch what arrives. A materially full person is not alert for dishes that descend. Don't always eat what's offered. Be lordly. Refuse the first plate. Wait, and the host will send out better food. Lift your head like the tallest mountain in the dark, that the dawn turns red, and then gold. That's a beautiful poem by Rumi from the book, The Essential Rumi. Translated by Coleman Barks. This is the new expanded edition, and if you're not a Rumi person, the more I read, the more I'm just incredibly impressed by the depth of wisdom, and this one's no different. Let's dig in. When I read this, obviously he's talking about food, but we could use food as a metaphor. You know, it basically says, and the way I interpret it, and you're free, you could type in the chat, maybe something that's coming through to you. Feel free to do that. I liken it to say that if we live too much in the world and what others expect from us, and we're always out there trying to meet someone's objective, trying to meet someone's expectations of us or whatever, and we're not filling our soul at the same time, it's like settling for greasy scraps. And then we can live that way for a very long time, and we think it's sustaining us, but it's really not. Maybe we don't know we're eating greasy scraps. Even though we, he uses the term flatulence and diarrhea, but how often does our body, it's kind of like funny to read that, right? But how often does our body respond when we're not doing something that fills us up? We might be doing something we like, and that's great. You might be doing something you're passionate about, but if you're doing something you don't like, and it's not filling your soul, and you're just doing it for a paycheck, it's going to show up. It's going to show up. It might show up in your body. And it's heavy. Like he says, it's a heaviness in the stomach. So think about the burden, the heaviness of carrying a load, doing something, or continuing to do something that no longer serves you. And I love this. Fast and watch what arrives. A materially full person is not alert for the dishes that descend. Again, this is talking about food, right? But let's talk about a person that's satiated with content, messages, social media, TV, people, right? It's just frantically coming in. And a person who is satiated with too much information may not be alert for what's dragging them down or pulling them in the wrong direction. And I love what he says here, fast and watch what arrives. Power of pure presence is a form of fasting from the influx, the ceaseless flow of demands, expectations, information, demands, expectations, and information. And the fast steps into a different space. Time, space, and grace. Give yourself time, space, and grace to step away from the noise of life, to allow something deeper. And like he says here, watch what arrives. Don't always eat what is offered. In other words, stop reacting to the stimulus response. Go to work, go home, right? Stimulus response. Don't always eat what is offered. Be lordly. There's a reference to lordship, if you will, but refuse the first plate. In other words, reclaim your right to choose what is best for thee, for you. And I love this, and I have a great metaphor. Wait, and the host will send out better food. And this is where my mind goes, my intuition. Trust and know that I am God. Trust and know that there's a deeper, better part. The host will send out better food. Who's the host? The divine, the universe, the spiritual source, God, of source of everything. And when you wait, really it's just not waiting for the sake of waiting. It's waiting and being in alignment and trusting the organic process of what belongs in your space, what fuels your soul, who you really are. Who you really are cannot be found in the books, the tapes, the programs, the video. Who you really are is already inside you. All you need is within you now. And then liberation, freedom. I don't have to get anywhere. I grow there. I don't get there. I grow there from the deepest, best part of myself. And I love this. Lift your head like the tallest mountain in the dark, that the dawn turns red and then gold. In other words, rise above. Be in the world, but no longer of the world. This is power of pure presence. You were fearfully and wonderfully made, my friend, and don't you ever forget it. And your mission through power of pure presence is to connect with the part of yourself that's perfect in all of its design. And it's simply the noise of the mind that needs to be left behind. Step into your truth. You were born to live fully now. You were born to live fully. When? Now. Time to pause and breathe. So it's clearly getting dark. I'm going to end the show, the first portion of the show right here, or whatever portion this is. I'm going to jump back on here in real time with you, and I want to provide a few moments here just of open space for you to just reflect, and feel free to put in the chat if you're here with us in this moment. Maybe take one more deep cleansing breath right now through the nose on the count of 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Pause. And I have a thing I want to share with you, but first I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Miss Duchess DJ Love, who's she's in the green room here helping me out. She has her incredible platform, Gallivanting Like a Royal, and she loves to bring travel into your life where you too can travel like a royal on a budget. Her book is out. It's called Traveltude, a 30-day trip tips gratitude devotional, and I started to dig into it, and I love you feel like you're kind of going on a journey as you're learning, which is great. There's photos, quotes, and great tips. So make sure you follow Duchess DJ Love and give her some love in the chat for helping out and sponsoring the show. She sponsors this show, and I'm grateful to have her a part of it. It helps out a great deal. So thank you. I want to read something with you, read something to you that a couple things. The first thing is we talked about the deeper part of yourself. Suppose someone is holding a pebble and throws it in the air, and the pebble begins to fall down into the river. After the pebble touches the surface of the water, it allows itself to sink slowly into the river. It will reach the bed of the river without any effort. Once the pebble is at the bottom of the river, it continues to rest. It allows the water to pass by. I think the pebble reaches the bed of the river by the shortest path because it allows itself to fall without making any effort. We can allow ourselves to sink naturally without effort to the position of sitting and the position of resting. I wanted to read this to you because as I was sharing about the deepest part of yourself, think of the pebble. Think of that it's always there. And even though the water flows by, it's always there. It sits, right? It rests at the bottom. And think about that, because as we close this show out in the next 15 minutes or so, you're going to go about your day, and there's going to be something, a phone call, an email, something you have to do. There's going to be the kick up, right? And then what happens in our bodies, right? If our mind gets too fired up, we can get into a state of fight or flight or fright, and then all of a sudden our body's reacting. But if you can think about that pebble and think about that, the reason why we pause and breathe in the show and we find the deepest breath, it's almost like there's a release and allow. It's not like you got to get somewhere. It's just allowing yourself to connect to the deeper part. And then once you connect to that, it's your actions come from a deeper place. So I'm reading from Thich Nhat Hanh peace cards here. If we know the art of being peaceful, of being solid, then we have the ground for every action, because the ground for action is to be. The quality of being determines the quality of doing. The value of our action depends on the value of our non-action. So doing nothing is already doing something. It's bringing about the dimension of being. It's not easy to just be. If you can be happy, relaxed, and smiling when you're not doing something, you're quite strong. Doing nothing brings about the quality of being, which is very important. So doing nothing is actually something. How many of you are guilty of this? You sit down and all of a sudden there's the vacuum, right? And your interpretation is, I feel like I should be doing something. Your brain immediately goes to, you can't even sit still. You're like, you're moving around, you're feeling the need to do something because your nervous system has been wired to do. You're not comfortable with the non-do or the non-do. as the Tao talks about, the non-ado, which is the non-manipulation doing of the moment. It's the allowance of. And I've said this on other shows, a large part of this has to do with your nervous system. If you are in sympathetic mode, your nervous system is operating from fight, flight, or fright. How does that happen? You're putting thoughts and images in your head of what is wrong or what could go wrong. What could go wrong is a big factor. Worrying is negative goal setting. And then we don't realize it's taken over the territory. We've become hyper addicted to protection, safety, and certainty. And our nervous system responds. And then we've wired ourselves. Protect, 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 alert, hypervigilance, constantly look out. And then the indirect fruit of that is lack of trust. In other words, you're caught up in the flow of the water as opposed to being observant of it and connecting to the deeper you. That could be one of the big things that this show is, that the deeper real you is perfect. There's nothing flawed. There's nothing wrong. Oh, you've been thinking that there's something wrong. This is wrong, that's wrong. You see how the brain separates this is wrong? Instead of saying, trusting the flow, that in the perception of what is wrong, the awareness can gradually correct it and move to what is right, or the perception of what is right. You see, there's a natural flow. And maybe I'll pan around here. It's beautiful. I got 12 minutes left here. And I'm just thinking that what I was thinking about today is like when I come out here, and what I'm excited to do when this is over today, I'm going to be stepping into nature. I'm going to be going on a beautiful hike, because nature doesn't care about man's ego manipulation. And here's a perfect example. This is the encampment of the Valley Forge National Park here. This is where George Washington, I want to say 1777 to 1778, they camped here in the winter. It's a natural elevated ridge. It has great geography, because it was about one day you could get to the city of Philadelphia, which at the time was occupied by the British. So George Washington set his troops up here. There were 200 of these cabins. They literally built a fortress and a city here. And as the story goes, they wintered here in that winter, I believe, of 1777. And even though they had created a lot of provisions, there was great suffering. They didn't have enough of the right provisions. Dealing with the winter, they suffered, but however, they prevailed, because ultimately they did do the training and they got through. But it was an incredible, as you can imagine, what that would be like. As a matter of fact, let me see. So this is, it was a city of huts. It was a refuge for the winter. This was the fourth largest city in America. Arriving in this rural area in the winter of 1777, soldiers immediately began building 2,000 log huts for shelter, earthworks for defense, and rubble to roads to keep out the deep boot-pulling mud. General George Washington issued orders on the sizes and locations of the huts. Soldiers cleared out all the trees from the countryside for miles around, dragging back the lumber to build log walls, shingle roofs, and rough bunks and stools. Most of this mighty task was finished within a month, despite shortages of tools. For 6 months, for the long city's population rivaled Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. Can you imagine that? This little area here rivaled the population at that time. And the reason why I say this is if you look around now, there's only a couple huts left, and there's some remains. And so nature is always, there's always a rhythm that's outside of man's ego. And when we can go back to nature and we can allow ourselves to, and for you, if you're not a nature person, you might just want to sit and look at the surroundings, which I will do. I'm going to do before we close out the show. I'll give you some more opportunity to do that. And so I want to share a couple things before we close out. I have one thing I want to read with you, and then I'm going to share the surroundings here. I have a documentary coming out. It's called Flashpoint, and I'm going to share the trailer that we just created. It's a beautiful trailer. The documentary is going to be out in December, and then I'm going to share another reading here from you for you, and then we're going to close out the show. And I want to give you the opportunity to type in what arose for you today. Did you feel the deeper part of yourself at some point? Did you just notice a moment of nothingness? That could be it. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as, like the reading said, the pebble. Did you realize that you've been allowing something that doesn't belong anymore, like the poem? Are you accepting the greasy scraps of food when you know there's more? So let me move on to the trailer, and then we'll come back. And what a great opportunity to be with you today, and just to appreciate this time together as new distinctions arise. It's beautiful in that we can create this open space, and we can look at the concepts, we can share the ideas, but also we can recognize the non-concepts and the non-ideas, the peaceful moments, the moments when stuff arises, right? Like the plane coming over, we could perceive it, how we could perceive it. We could trust what arises in the present moment. Okay, so here we go.
My name is Marilyn Morales. I'm here because I want to help people to heal. I want to heal. I want to be different. I want to be more productive. And I think anybody that comes here is going to find that same thing, their breakthrough.
So be on the lookout. That's going to be December 16th. December 16th, we're going to launch the documentary, the Flashpoint documentary, featuring incredible stories. You just heard from Marilyn in that little trailer. And then we're going to be launching this book. This is Flashpoint, Manifesting the Moment of Your Big Breakthrough. And the mantra we live by is get free, stay present, move forward. This show, Power Up Your Presence, was the evolution of that. It was about, we are going to fully embrace the moment. We're going to live life fully now as we create visions of what our truest, greatest moments could be. But we don't live for the future. We live now. We create fulfillment now, and we expand out. As we expand out, there are going to be moments. There are going to be moments in life, and let me share this with you to accentuate this point even more. Nirvana is now. Nirvana is the ultimate dimension of life, a state of coolness, peace, and joy. It is not a state to be attained after you die. You can touch nirvana right now by breathing, walking, and drinking your tea. Nirvana has always been there. Everything and everyone is dwelling in nirvana. And what we say is live life fully now. Live life fully now. Live life fully now. As we close out the show, I'm going to, as it's getting busier here, I'm gonna walk over and thank you for your shares today. Live life fully now. And here's the thing: if you say, "Oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm not doing it right," no, you just embrace what is. So we got a couple minutes left. I'm gonna stand up. We're gonna walk over. I'll be hiking here later, but you'll see the open vastness, and this open space is just, think about that. When you feel constricted, just think of the open space. Oh, we got a colonial, so you never know what's going to show up. I want to thank you all for being here today. It's been a fantastic show. Your shares are valuable. If you're on the playback, feel free to share and feel free to connect with us. You can Google me at austinhaynes.com, austinhaynes.com. I'm going to put everything that we're doing there. And this has been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be with you today. So as a reminder, live life fully now. God bless everyone. Have a great day.